The macrocosm and the microcosm is a fascinating conversation in science today. And so people are noticing that in the microcosm, the birth of the cell looks a lot like the macrocosm, the death of a star. When we understand that we are actually not a person, we are not individuals, we are individualized expressions of the whole, we are focal points where the universe is becoming conscious of itself, expressing itself as us. And that's our purpose. That's our reason for being. That's our destiny. That's our birthright. We are wandering through our topic, A World That Works for Everyone, and this month, Awakening to Our Spiritual Magnificence has been our theme. And on the first Sunday, we talked about how, Reverend Karen talked about how we see that in each other. We can really see that every person is an individualized expression of the one, and how beautiful that is to see everybody's spiritual magnificence and how important that is. And last week, we talked about relationships and how we can see the spiritual magnificence of the person sitting across the table at breakfast. Every day we can find ourselves, we can see that spiritual magnificence in our most intimate relationships. Today, as we talk about the cosmos, the macro, and the micro, we're going to talk about seeing it in ourselves. Seeing that spiritual magnificence. Knowing the spiritual magnificence of who we are. Experiencing it and expressing it. Ernest Holmes, in the Declaration of Principles, he says, "We believe in the unity of all life, and that the highest God and the innermost God is one God." Now, usually when we talk about this statement, we often focus, as we have in the last 2 Sundays, about the unity of all life. The second half of this phrase is about the highest God and the innermost God being one God. And so this phrase isn't just about our oneness with each other. It isn't just about our oneness with all beings everywhere. Actually, most importantly, it's about our oneness with the divine. This oneness, not just this oneness here. The highest God and the innermost God is one God. Now, I have to tell you, I admit freely that sometimes I have a bit of a challenge with the word God. Ernest Holmes tends to use it a lot. And it can have a lot of connotations. And we can, without really paying too much attention, we can hear that word and immediately associate it with something outside of ourselves. Maybe an old idea about God as something that was outside of ourselves, up there somewhere, and that we were separate from. And in the science mind, we understand that there is a transcendent reality. There is a transcendent oneness that is beyond our comprehension. But that oneness is also an indwelling presence. It's an indwelling reality. And that's one and the same. We're going to explore that a little bit this morning. So because I sometimes have a challenge with the word God, I like to use the word spirit or life or the universe or ultimately the one reality. And when we think about the one reality, we can begin to enter into the idea that has been floating around for thousands and thousands of years to help us understand that. And that's the idea of the macrocosm and the microcosm. So the macrocosm and the microcosm is a fascinating conversation in science today. And so people are noticing that in the microcosm, the birth of the cell looks a lot like the macrocosm, the death of a star. If we take these two images, so here we have the human eye, and here we have a beautiful nebula seen by the Hubble telescope. Yeah. These are computer simulations. The red one, the darker one, is a computer simulation of a brain cell. The smallest, ittiest-bittiest brain cell that they can find. The other one is a computer representation of the entire universe. The macro and the micro, the brain cell and the universe. So when we look at these images, what we begin to see is this thing that's called the self-similarity of scale. We find this particularly in quantum physics and chaos theory and the new science, the self-similarity of scale that the physical universe is beginning to show us, and we are beginning to understand something about it. This self-similarity of scale uses the term macrocosm and microcosm. These terms were used in Greek philosophy, ancient Chinese philosophy. Taoism uses these terms, and their most ancient origins are from the Hermetic teachings, as above, so below. The macrocosm and the microcosm. So we see that this statement from our Declaration of Principles that we are exploring this morning, the highest God and the innermost God is one God, is less about our oneness with each other and creation. Rather, it is more about our oneness with the divine, as the divine becoming aware of itself. As the divine becoming aware of itself. Do you see the one as one, when it is simply being the one, the macrocosm, well, it has nothing to relate to. It has nothing to experience itself against. It has nothing other than oneness. And so the macrocosm simply is. Okay, I'm bored now. Right? So what does it do? It expresses. It expresses. And that exploded into creation. The entire purpose of the manifest body of God is to express the oneness so that it could experience itself and be all of itself. And the entire trajectory of evolution, as near as we can understand it, is to have evolved to the point where consciousness can see itself, be revealed to itself, experience itself. Now, Ernest Holmes says this. He says, the universe must exist for the self-expression of God, the delight of God. The universe is here for the delight of the one. It's the sandbox in which the universe, in which life itself gets to play and to be flowers and stars and quasars and subatomic particles and hummingbirds and whatever else, and for its sheer delight of expression, to explode into all of the possibilities. The universe is the outpicturing of all of that, Ernest Holmes says. Now, Black Elk, he goes on to say this: at the center of the universe dwells the Great Spirit. We would totally agree with that. And that center is really everywhere. It is within each of us. You've heard it said, Spirit is a circle whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. The center of the universe is everywhere, without limit and end, and that center is everywhere, within each one of us. Ultimately, you are not a person, but a focal point where the universe is becoming conscious of itself. Do you see? Reverend Karen said 2 Sundays ago, she said, we all know I'm a human being. What do you expect? I'm just a human being. And then she said, we learned, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. But now we're learning, maybe there's another way to look at it, that we're actually spiritual beings having a spiritual experience. This is the manifest body of the One. This is the expression of life. And life has been moving to the point where it could become itself as an individualized expression so that it could become conscious and aware of itself as us. Eckhart Tolle says this: you are the universe expressing itself as a human for a little while. Do you see? We're always busy becoming more spiritual, getting closer to God, opening our relationship so that we'll be one with God. Do you see? All that language says we're separate. And somehow that language is always from the human point of view. Our identity is the identity of separation. But when we understand that we are actually not a person, we are not individuals, we are individualized expressions of the whole, we are focal points where the universe is becoming conscious of itself, expressing itself as us. Now there's no separation to heal. There's nowhere to go to get closer to God. I don't have to be any more spiritual than I thought I was yesterday. Do you see? I simply have to remember the truth of who I am. Ernest Holmes says this is the meaning of the mystical saying, the highest God and the innermost God is one God, and the saying of Jesus, I and the Father are one. Whatever intelligence we possess is some degree, some measure of that infinite intelligence which we call God or Spirit, the universe, the life, the One. Whatever intelligence we possess is some degree, some measure of the infinite intelligence which we call God. Now, that means that we're not one with God. We are God as us. Now, the only problem is when you go around saying, I'm God, I'm God, I'm God, I'm God, people get offended, don't they? Like, who do you think you are? Really? So we have to really understand what we're saying. We have to really understand what we're saying. So how I've come to understand this and how I language this is I am not all of God. I am not all of the macrocosm. I can't possibly be. It is the macrocosm. It is universal. I am not all of that. There is actually some transcendent mystery that is running the universe. And I am not that. But it is all that I am. There's not a speck of me that isn't a part of that. Not a bit of me that isn't a part of that. My mind, my heart, my body. Now, my experiences are what I make of that, aren't they? But of me, of who I am not all of that, but it is all that I am. Do you see, now I'm not standing as a human being trying to get to God, trying to get to Spirit, trying to get closer to the universe. I'm now the universe as me. And when we understand this, do you see, we understand that the intelligence of the universe, the creative process of the universe that is moving in the macrocosm is also moving in our own lives. That the same law, the same creative process that the macrocosm uses to create that out there is precisely and exactly what we're using to create our life, our own life experience. So to do what is ours to do with complete faith that whatever else is necessary, no matter how close or how far, how small or big, how simple or complex, how important or unimportant it may seem, it's being done by the universe with all of its infinite intelligence, right? The universe is making the tomato seed become a tomato plant. Surely it can manage my getting from here to there. Whatever there is. I get to choose where there is. But it can manage that. That is that infinite intelligence moving through and for me and you. Our prayer sets in motion the vast depths and distances of spirit to converge upon us and through us in perfect order, that we may have that which we co-create as the universe, as us. Does that sound like fun? Yeah. It's like Play-Doh. It's like a sandbox. What if you realized how powerful you actually were? What if you realized that this was actually true about you? What if you knew that this was who you came here to be? To be the place where the universe gets to play in expression as an individualized experience of itself, so that it can know itself and see itself. Ernest Holmes says this: man's mind is the mind of God, functioning at the level of man's understanding of his place in the universe. Man contacts the mind of God at the center of his own being. It is useless to seek it elsewhere. The highest God and the innermost God are one God. Through the medium of mind, man unifies with the universe and contacts a power that can do anything for him that he is able to conceive of it doing. Yeah. Not, I'm going to somehow change the will of God, or I'm going to make God do something for me, or I'm going to hope that God thinks I meditated enough today and I'm a nice person and now, showers prosperity on me. No. Do you see? It's standing as the universe in our own lives and speaking the creative word. But we speak that creative word from the identity that we know that we are. And we are in that mind using that intelligence. The Peace Pilgrim says this: if you realized how powerful your thoughts were, you would never think a negative thought again. Or a limiting thought, or a hateful thought. If we really understood who we are, we would never use our limitation and our negativity to create our own life experience. Ernest Holmes says we should believe that God, that spirit, that life, that the universe is the invisible partner in our lives, and affirm that divine love goes before us and prepares the way, and the wisdom and intelligence of the universe brings it about. Life is conspiring for our good. The trajectory of the universe is for life. We see that in the entire process of evolution. By understanding and using the principles, aligning with spiritual reality, and living in the truth, we co-create in the microcosm as the one is creating in the macrocosm. Stop fretting. Stop worrying. Stop being afraid. Stop worrying about how the world around us will change to meet our needs, or fretting that our desire is somehow out of reach or impossible or too big or too hard or too something. The universe, the one, it's doing some pretty amazing some things out there already, don't you think? Coming closer to the outer edges of the cosmos is as simple as accepting the possibility that the cosmos lives within us, as us. When we embody what it means to be universal, we unlock the infinite potential of universal good. Do you see? Not when we embody what it means to be individual. It's when we embody what it means to be universal that we unlock the infinite potential of universal good. This limitlessness is our divine right by the very nature of our awareness of this truth. And so we know ourselves, and we know who we are. So I would just share with you, in preparing for this talk, how much I became aware of my own experience and the experience of people that I know. That when we do our spiritual practice, and for me it's especially when we do our spiritual practice of spiritual mind treatment, there is a moment where we become universal. There is a moment in that spiritual mind treatment where we understand the truth of our own identity, where we stand as the universal in our own lives. And the process of doing that particular spiritual practice day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, I've had that experience in my treatment where I knew beyond the shadow of a doubt that I was rearranging the molecules of the universe, not in control, but in creation. That's who we are. That's who we came here to be. That is our birthright. And when we stand in that place, that identity, you see, then we are participating in the creation of life. We become the co-creators so that the macrocosm is creating this amazing and beautiful and miraculous world. And we can do that and are doing that in our very own lives. And that's our purpose. That's our reason for being. That's our destiny. That's our birthright. Because we are the focal point in which the universe is experiencing itself. There is no need to be concerned with the distance, because our inner connection to the One is the direct avenue to all the goodness of life. There is no need to be concerned about the distance. There is no distance. Do you see? There is that place of inner stillness where we become the infinite as us. To touch the deepest point within ourselves is to simultaneously brush our fingers along the edge of the cosmos. Let us pray. We pray with the breath. Just to take a breath. You see, in that breath is the universal moving into us with the breath. And we use that breath to come to that still point. And in that still point within us, we are so much bigger on the inside than we are on the outside. Our inner self is vast, infinite, wise, creative, intelligent, magnificent, and beautiful. That breath we breathe into that center point. And we realize that right there is the universe inside us, as us. Now I no longer have to be a child of God or with God or form a relationship with God. Do you see? God is me, and I am that. And that is I, and that is you. And so in that breath, we simply allow ourselves to rest in the infinite, universal reality. From this place, we can paint on the canvas of our own lives. We can play with the Play-Doh, create and explode into our own experience. There's nothing that limits the universe. There's nothing that the universe can't do. So as us, it moves as us into that full expression. And so this morning, let us affirm and declare that we release anything that stands in the way of that. Any negativity, any limitation, any false belief, any human identity. That we may stand in the fullness of our truth. The truth of who we are. And when we do so, we co-create with that one infinite reality. We co-create out of love and joy. We co-create out of prosperity and wholeness and abundance. We co-create out of harmony and order. We co-create out of the very oneness that we are. And that gives us a mighty ground upon which to stand. A way to move through any circumstance or condition or situation because we know the truth. We know the truth of who we are, and we allow that wisdom and intelligence to take care of the rest. And so as we know this truth, we relax into the peace of it, the trust of it, the confidence of it, the cheerful expectation of our lives to unfold and grow and blossom into their fullness. The highest God and the innermost God is one God. And together we say, and so it is.